back to the Dragon's Lair, everybody. My name is Wade, and this is my show Let's Talk, where we talk about Warhammer 40k. This is a part of a really big playlist where we talk about the units that I love, the units that I don't like, what units might be useful for. It's really designed for everybody. Maybe some new people will learn some things, maybe some experienced people will learn something that they've never heard before. Um, I do play at the RTT level, which is casual. I'm not super competitive. But, I do study such things so that I can play good games and have a good time. I'd like to win one someday, but that's not. I'm not super competitive. So I damaged my voice recently. That's why I'm coughing. Anyways, we're talking about Ripper Swarms, and I like Ripper Swarms. Ripper Swarms are good. Ripper Swarms will help you win games. So let's talk about it. They move 6 inches. That's pretty unremarkable. They that's a pretty standard movement. It's not great. Tough two. Tough two is terrible. Tough two is terrible. 6+ save. 6+ save is terrible. It's almost as worst as it can get. 4 wounds. It's pretty okay. Leadership 8, for them to pass, they're going to have to be inside of Synapse, which is giving them a 3d6. It's possible on 2d6. And objective control 0. So they're not going to take an objective for you. They may help your enemy lose an objective. They may help you take an objective. But we'll get into that. So, ranged weapons. You have to add, all models in this unit can be equipped with spine maws. I would, just because why not? So it's a pistol, which means you can use it inside of melee combat. And the advantage to doing this basically means that they can participate in the shooting phase and in the melee phase. So it's free right now in 10th. I would suggest just do it because you might get a wound out of it. And then that thing that you wound might become important later on. So I'll take any wound for free. If it's a free thing and it doesn't cost me anything, it might put the wound down there that wins the game. I did an alpha strike on Angron and killed him. Sooner or later you kill a 16 wound model by 1 wound. Sometimes it's by 2, sometimes it's by 3, whatever. But sooner or later you kill models by 1 wound. So never underestimate the power of 1 wound. So it's a pistol, spine maul, which means you can participate in the so you can shoot. It's a pistol, so you can shoot while you're locked in melee combat. Range 6, attacks 4. That's not bad. Rippers can come in 1, 2, or 3. So BS5, terrible. The Rippers are almost worth laughing at if they didn't serve their purpose. So Ballistic Skill 5, not great. Strength 3, not great. AP 0, 1 damage. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to roll all this stuff out, and then your opponent is going to resist almost all of it. And sometimes they will resist all of it. But when they don't, and they take 1 wound from it, or 2 wounds from it, or whatever, it's going to make a difference. Just like their melee weapons, it has sustained hits 1. I'm already rocking sustained hits 1 because I make all these videos from the perspective of Invasion Fleet, and Swarming Instincts is usually what I go for. And Swarming Instincts is going to give you sustained hits 1. I wish they stacked, like sustained hits 1 went to sustained hits 2, but they don't. 6 attacks, so that's a lot of attacks. Weapon skill 5, that's trash. Strength 2, that's trash. AP 0, trash. 1 damage, trash. Here's the point. It's possible for you to put a wound on a dreadnought. You have to roll really well, and your opponent has to roll really bad. But it's possible. Okay? Never say never. Take the free stuff. It's free stuff. Take it. That's my advice to you. It's free stuff. Take it. Okay? So here's where they really shine. Okay? Ripper Swarms are 20 points. So if you're working on your list and you have a little bit of points left over, it's not enough for a full squad of something, you don't really know what you're going to take a Ripper Swarm. Um, Also, a big thing about Ripper Swarms is go over to their core abilities. So I'm going to drop down to Synapse, just talk about that for a second. When Synapse is up there, that means they benefit from Synapse. Synapse has to be down in the keywords. See, down over here, it has to be down in the keywords for them to give Synapse. Anyways, here's why you want Ripper Swarms. Here's why they're usable, is Deep Strike. Okay, so when you're playing, objectives are important. You know that. Everybody knows that. Objectives are important. Ripper Swarms, the model is so low. It sets so low that it's really hard to draw line of sight to them. You just can't see them in many cases. So if there's, a barricade or a building or whatever or rubble, a lot of times you just can't see them. And most people don't think about that. So what do you call that? Their footprint, or whether you want to call that their outline or whatever. Um, they're hard to target. Okay, sure they've got an objective control of 0, but they can do a lot of things. So in instances where you have to cleanse an objective, they can cleanse that objective. In instances where you have to put down an objective, they can put it down. When you have to destroy an objective, they can destroy it. They're a low cost unit that is hard to see and can go anywhere. So like if you need to be in your opponent's table quarters, your opponent's deployment zone, for example, Deep Strike. And a lot of times, if it comes up on turn 3 or whatever, they've drawn in to where all the fighting is, and then all of a sudden, boom, your Ripper Swarms show up, and they're completing objectives. They're completing secondaries, okay, on mission objectives. And they're also handy for some harassment. So now that they're back there doing that, your opponent feels like maybe I should break some guys off and go back there and stop them. And then they're really hard to target, so your opponent basically has to run up and get on top of them. It's a pretty good way to go about it. I use them in the RTT level, and they complete all sorts of objectives. Talking about doing actions and completing objectives, a model does not have to have a range weapon to give up its shooting phase. It says it right in the rules. Even if you don't have a ranged weapon, you can still give up your shooting or sacrifice your shooting phase to perform an action. I put the spine maws on there just for funsies, because why not take the free stuff and maybe get an extra wound out of it or something. But just keep that in mind. You don't have to have a gun to give up your shooting phase to perform an action. A lot of that stuff happens in the shooting phase, but you don't have to have a gun. So like Von Ryan's Leapers, Hormagaunts, all those guys, they can do that stuff. And they're good at doing that stuff. My RTT has 3 individual Ripper Swarms in it, and for 60 points, they win you a lot of points. They can win you a lot of points. So keep that in mind. They can pop up pretty much anywhere to perform actions. And that's, in my opinion, that's their real strength. I don't suggest any stratagems on them. I do think another thing that most people don't know what Tyranids do. So we have to know what Tyranids do. And a big secret that the Ripper Swarms are all about is this Chitinous Auras, this aura, while an enemy unit is within engagement range of this unit, have the objective control characteristic of models in that enemy unit. So keep in mind, if you've got a Norn Emissary standing on top of something giving you OC 15, and then you run a Ripper Swarm in there, that Ripper Swarm is going to have everyone else's objective control. It's a great trick that not a lot of people know about. And go ahead and look at the Assimilation Swarm, because it's got Harvester in the keywords. That means you can use them when they stand on objectives. They can heal other units. And there is an enhancement that lets you heal twice. So think about having a Hive Tyrant with 3 Hive Guard standing on an objective with a Ripper Swarm, and that Ripper Swarm, well, you'd have to have 2 Ripper Swarms, but the 2 Ripper Swarms then heal the Hive Tyrant's unit twice a turn. It's pretty cool. Look it up. Thank you guys for spending your time here with us at the Dragon's Live.